There we go. Welcome to episode 212, 212. Man, it's a high number. So anyway, Quarkus episode, Quarkus Insight episode 212. A bit alone today because everyone else is out at conferences or customers, so it's just me being back doing nothing. We had of new things Quarkus is releasing as usual. We have the Quarkus, what's that, 325 coming up, which is going to be the basis of, the last major one. Then the next one is the base for the LTS, the long-term support. But this is, we've done this, is it like the third summer? I feel like it's third summer. Maybe it's only second. So the next, once we've done that release, it will be a while. We'll release one more and just stabilize so we can get ready to the next LTS. So anyway, today we have William, who you can introduce yourself, and what you talk about. But it's gonna be surprising about AI, I think. So we'll see. So William, how about you introduce yourself and what you're gonna talk about? We can get on with it. Yeah.
Yes. Hey, hello, Max. Thanks for having me here. My name is William. I'm a software engineer at Red Hat, currently working with OpenShift AI and specifically working on the IG stuff. So basically, tools for developers on OpenShift AI. And today I'm going to share with you a tool that I have been working in called LLM FX. Name is subject to change. So, this is a tool that I started because me and some colleagues we were trying to use some of the AI new stuff, MCP and some tools, but we didn't have something available at the moment. So we started this tool and it became something useful.
Yeah, it's very cool. So and the special thing is, well, not special thing. One of the special things is based on Java FX, and we had the guy who did the Quarks. Now I forgot his name now. That's very embarrassing, but I'll find it. David, I think. Anyway, he's done the Java FX extension and showed that like 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and that actually came around because I saw you did the LLM FX, and I was like, oh, that's actually using Quarkus and FX, and like, oh, we should have this on. So that's why we got the basic covered last week, and then 2 weeks ago, and this time it's going to be like a real use case, which is always interesting. And then it's AI, so it has all the good things. But let me share your screen. I think you had some slides and stuff. And if anyone who's here, just ask questions in chat, and we'll put them in. And I'll your screen is live now.
Okay. So there is only a few slides just to contextualize why we use JavaFX and Quarkus. So what is LLM FX? It's just a free and open source desktop application. It's just like any client that you use to talk to LLM servers. ChatGPT and DeepSeek, all they have their web page with a client. But LLM FX is desktop and is using JavaFX. I will talk more about the technologies. So the goal of being desktop is not something. It's something that I wanted to be desktop. I didn't want to, again, work with 3-4 languages. So having JavaFX and being desktop, I could write everything in Java. And why another client application? We have so many applications, and some of them are really are available for us for free when we start Llama or when we go to some provider. The idea was to have something that is really free. At the time that LLM FX was started, we didn't have something that supported tools, MCP, and was really open source. We still have LM Studio, which is very good, but I think that some parts of the UI is not open source. It's not free source. And I also usually use some tools. Sometimes it was tied to some providers. So, for example, I think Cloud has a desktop tool, but it's for the cloud tooling. And even if you could add your own stuff there, it's still for a specific provider. So I didn't like that so much. And finally, the transparency. So with LLM FX, we can see exactly what's been used, what tools are being called, and we can select what access we give to our system.
And is it? I just
And
want to like it's not overstepping saying this is like Claude desktop, but for any desktop, or Goose desktop, but for any desktop. Right?
exactly. And desktop tends to be some closed box. So if you install something desktop, you may not see what's happening. So that concerned me. So that's why LMFX was created as well. And we use JavaFX. It is, in my opinion, of the best toolkits, UI toolkits that was invented. It's not only because it's Java, it's because I followed the development since the beginning, and it has a great UI toolkit. So everything you need is ready out of the box. You even have charts and 3D, a lot of things that it's hard to get in other platforms. To get this in other platforms, you may have to do some strange configuration or use some other APIs. But JavaFX has everything all available for you, and it's easy to style as well. Even Max contributed to LLM FX and make it a really much better application just by modifying CSS and bring some style. And also Quarkus. Quarkus was really great. Even we think about Quarks about cloud and web, but for desktop applications, it's really great today. All the good things for from Quarks is brought to desktop, and using the FX extension that was talked here a few weeks ago. We can use JavaFX along with the good things from the Java Enterprise like CGI, and the logging configuration is very good. So Quarks is really great for using in desktop applications today. And LangChain 4J, which is a very good framework to create AI backend applications in Java. So a brief history how we get here. First, I had this problem that because MCP was exploding, but I couldn't try it in a tool that was free and open source. And even if I could try it, it was really strange how to start stuff. I had to start some containers and things like that. But then I said, let me start a client just to see how things work and explore and see what is this MCP thing about. Then I start with Ollama because I use Ollama a lot, luckily. Then I start with Ollama 4J using the proprietary API from Ollama. But then I saw that I was writing too much code just to invoke a MCP, and I didn't want to do that because my goal was to explore MCP. I want to see MCP on the internet and try it. So even Quarks released with JBang a few MCP services, and I was not able to test that because I was able to write code to see the output, but I want to chat with LLM that was calling MCP in the background. So it was not possible at the time. But then after I realized that I would have to write a lot of code, I found that LangChain4j had a great support for MCP. In my opinion, the easiest one from what I saw from even Python and other libraries, the LangChain support is really great. So I moved to LangChain4j. As I was using JavaFX, I knew that there was an extension. And for my surprise, the extension was very easy to use. So the extension that was talked here 2 weeks ago, that's the extension I'm using. And one thing about JavaFX code is that you start to add dependence, and at some point, all the classes are all tied together, and changing something in the UI may become a pain. So with the Quarks FX extension, we were able to simply decouple the UI from the code, the logic, the code of logic, and to us, really easy to deal with that. The UI was not written doing code. We use FXML, so we use a tool to drag and drop UI components, and that may frighten someone that is used to tools like Delphi and others. But with the FX extension, things are really well separated. So actions can be handled in your class while the UI is not visible. You just focus on your logic. So yeah, so Quarks was something that really saved us. So what LLM FX provides? First of all, when you start it, you have a lot of tools to use, and this is good because sometimes you are chatting with a LLM and you say, "Man, it would be good if this LLM knew at least what time is it, so it would not say that it was trained like 2 years ago." So you can bring these basic tools to your LLM, just selecting it, and you can select the tool, run a prompt, then deselect the tool. You do not you can select exactly what the LLM will be executing. So it's very good to do that with LLM FX. And the MCP support, as I said, I want to try MCP. For example, there is quite a few on, I think it's Quarkus MCP server, right?
Yeah.
There's a few that is free to use. You just go there, you copy the command and you use. And also there's some from GitHub and others. So you just configure the MCP and it's ready for use. Another thing is that JavaFX has all these features, and with LLMFX, we try to give the LLM access to the UI so we can create interesting tools. For now, we have a few that I will be showing, but the possibilities are infinite. You can do anything with the UI using a LLM. So it's very interesting to explore there. Another thing is that we we do not require you to use any server. You select the server you want. You can use a local Ollama. You can use DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Gemini, and the list goes on. The only requirement is that it's Open API compatible, which everything is compatible today. And you choose what you want to try. If you want to try the latest model that was released at open source, you can quickly try it with LLMFX. The configuration is very easy.
Yeah.
Do Quarkus.
Yeah. What I find, fascinating with the whole AI space is, people know about ChatGPT and Claude Desktop and Cursor, and a lot of people think there's this like magical, complicated set of stuff going on, and then they get access to the API and might try a few things, and they go like, "Hey, this is not as cool as the ChatGPT is." That's because people don't realize that ChatGPT actually has a lot of middleware around it to keep track of memory, conversation, the whole flow. Like Cursor, the hard part of Cursor is not LM. LM is just kind of, I'm not saying a solved problem, but it's just a REST call. The interesting part is to get a user flow that lets you do things. And it's always surprised me how few of these exist. Like there's Goose Desktop, and a few CLIs, but none has really, popped up. So when I saw you were doing this thing, I was like, hey, because one thing I did with the Claude Desktop is when I was doing the MCP servers, I reported bugs to the Martin who's working on the MCP server. Hey, in Claude this doesn't work for some reason, and say, well, I don't know, because Claude Desktop doesn't run on anything but Mac at the time, I think, or Mac and Windows, not Linux. And Goose doesn't run on Mac. It runs on Mac and Linux, but not Windows. Some combination. And the cool thing is with the LLMs, we actually have one place we can say, hey, this is it's massaging the MCP server. We can try things out. But I think for me, it's just the fact that for all Java people out there, here's a full-end front-end application in one project that just uses Quarkus and classic JavaFX to deliver something similar. It's not like it still has some rough edges, as you will see, but it basically does 80-90% of what Claude Desktop and those guys do. So yeah, so you want to show it just to get a bit more concrete, I think.
Yeah, yeah, but just to make a point, that's exactly what you said. When you use some tool, you think that everything is happening because of the AI, but actually the AI is just a little piece. The tools that are being executed, it's a lot of tools. Sometimes when they leak some system prompt, you can see that a lot of tools that is tied to any LLM server. So let's talk about the tools. So, for example, we can visualize. I put this because in case the them don't work, we have this. So you can visualize the web, any HTML that is generated. You can simply visualize by selecting a tool. You can generate reports, and this is very simple. But the idea here is to inspire people to see what's possible and create something more sophisticated. Because this is, if you see the code, this is just exposing JavaFX API to the LLM. So I tell the LLM that it can create table, it can create charts, and then it calls the tools according to the data that it has access. So in this case, we make a property and it's able to render reports using the JavaFX. Another thing is that if you give access to it to the animation stuff and drawing stuff, it will start to create crazy things. Like in this case, I asked it to write a drawing for the Space Oddity song from David Bowie. So this is what it created, and it's not very sophisticated, but it's very interesting to see how it thinks. For example, let me try to draw some clouds. Let me use this curve tool. So it tries to reason on the tools that you have available. So it's up to you to develop good tools to make the LLM work very well.
Yeah.
And you can put together two or more tools. So, for example, in this report, I asked what were the top selling cars in Brazil in March. So it went to the internet, searched the top cars, and then went back to the tool and wrote a report about the result that it found on the internet. And that is like Max said, all the magic is behind this tool, and as Java developer, you can create that as well. LLM FX also has support to image, so only a few models support images right now. Gemma is one, Gemma from Google, so you can upload images in your chat, so it will read the image, and you can also use the image with other tools. So, for example, you can say extract the information from this image to a table, and it will use the tool and read the image and do all the things. This is something surprising that happened because I was thinking about a tool just to write ER diagrams and things like that. And I noticed that when I gave access to it to lines and to do UI stuff, it can draw diagrams using JavaFX. Of course, there are other ways, but what's surprising is that you can make it generalize to anything if you give it good tools. It is an example. And animation is also something that's very intense to do. We will try some. So you can ask it, create some cool animation for me. It will try to use the tool to create something. And finally, we have 3D support. Right now, it would be great to have someone that's more expert in 3D to provide more stuff. But basically, if you give access to the 3D stuff from JavaFX, it knows a lot of, because LLM is trained on a lot of data, it knows about 3D concepts. So you just talk to it and it can handle the 3D scene. And right now it's very early, but I think in the future we can even create animations with 3D using LLM and everything in your computer. In this case, I was not using a local LLM, but if you point to a local LLM in your machine, it will work. It will create 3D stuff for you. And finally, the MCP support is also available. In this case, I was just creating a table, but you can, for example, say search the web for something and put this on a table using tools and MCP, and it will tie all together for you. Okay, so let's go to demos. First, the basics. I'm running locally, so these are my models that are running on my machine. It's not in any server. So let me try this one here. Actually, let me try a small one because things can get. Let me try this. I think this will work well. Say hello. I increase the font to show you. So this is LLM FX. On the side here, you have the history, just like you see in another server. Here you have the chat. And yeah, so this is the base one. You can use it just for chat if you want. But let me try something very interesting. What day is today? As you know, the LLM does not know what day is today because it can't access real-time data. So in fact, by default, the LLM, when you run locally, it just it's good to chat, but it can't do anything else than chatting because it does not have access to anything. Oh, as you can see, let me stop this. As you can see here, it thinks that it's October 2023. So let me turn on a tool that will make it clear how it changed stuff. Today. Let me turn off thinking because it's adding a lot of noise. So now that I have the tool selected, and as we were talking, it's very transparent what you can do. Let's see the log.
Is that no thing? Is that LLM FX interpreting that, or is that?
No, it's only the Queen models from Alibaba.
Okay.
They have this shortcut to eliminate thinking, which is good because sometimes you don't want it to reason because it can, hallucinate and take a long time.
Yeah.
And you can see now that it knows the date. And if we check the logs, we can see exactly what was executed. So it called our tool and what arguments were used and things like that. And what was executed is just a very simple Java code. So I have this tool, it's using LangChain4j, and I tell the LLM that the tool is to return the current date. And this is just one liner. And with this, the LLM now knows how to retrieve the current date.
Yeah.
And one other thing is that now that I have this tool, I can also say web search. So now I have two tools selected. It may use both tools. Let me just try again, but with no think, because it will take a long time. So it may use both tools. Sometimes it uses these two tools. It tries to find what day is today and try to search the web. And this is the good thing because you can go and select the tool you want and you can follow in the logs what's happening. And the things can get very powerful. So right now I'm using very simple tools like web search and datetime. But for example, thinking about plugging into your company database or plugging into some web service and start doing more and more tools, at some point you will have something that is maybe not so powerful like ChatGPT or Manus AI, but you'll have something that's very useful using only free open source and Java tools. See, it's searching the web. You can see here that it's used my web search tool. So it called this tool to search the web. And one thing that happens when you run locally, because you have restricted hardware, sometimes it gets very slow because the context keep getting bigger. So it may happen here.
And I
Yeah,
think,
probably. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I just want to highlight, like, for example, the date. I think most desktops actually send that by default into the system prompt. But yeah, here you're just using it as an example of what the tools can do. But that makes it's pretty nice. So what's the thing you use for the web service? Is that just plain Google, or is it something else? The
It's DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. Okay, yeah, cool.
DuckDuckGo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I use this. I just because it's low because I'm running the model locally. It's not a very small model,
Sure.
and also anyway. So as I said, you can also run any Chat GPT um, um, ChatGPT actually open API. So let's try. Let's just finish here, and let's try some external server because it will get faster. Since I run everything here and my hardware is limited, it's slow. So let me stop here. Let me close. So let me try to use DeepSeek because I like the way that DeepSeek does. It will be clear here. The way because DeepSeek it will tell you what tool it's trying to call, so it's very interesting to chat with it. So now it went to the DeepSeek server and released the two models that are available for use. So let me try this. And I'm afraid of saying today's headlines. We never. So see how faster it is using my tool. It tells me what tools it's using. So that's why I like to use. So it uses my tool to web search.
Yep.
And writing here the results. So let's try something more exciting because it's all text based. So this is very powerful. I will give you access now to the LLM to to run commands on my machine. So this is very powerful and also very dangerous. So I recommend to use this not as a root user. It may not work because sometimes when calling tools, it break the tool calling is not something that see it's saying hold on, it's running commands. I hope. Enter a better prompt. And it's interesting to see that it identifies what system it's using, and it tries to run a lot of commands to identify what's slow in your machine.
So we actually got quite Oleg. He wasn't there in the beginning. He says, like, is there a link? Is this open source somewhere? Do you have them? Is that just the LLM FX on GitHub, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll put it in. Yeah. So yeah, so it is all open. Let me put the link in.
So while it's happening to identify why my machine is slow. So this is the GitHub page. We have some very good contributions. Max himself contributed to change the look and feel of the application. And we had another one from codes from Clement and he helped us with the chat CSS.
Yep.
And we accept a lot of contributions because it's tool-based. So anything that you can help, for example, if you have an idea like, I would like to see this tool, you can contribute because it's very good to have more and more tools. So in LLM FX, I selected this tool here to execute commands. And when I ask it to help me to identify what's wrong on my machine, let's put here on the side, here. I just say this to the LLM. Please help me to find what's wrong with my machine. It feels slow today. Please do 225. And it started running commands. So it tried to look for the process that it may be making my machine slow and things like that. And you can see that if I turn this off, if I answer like this, it will not be able anymore to go to my machine. So that's why this is something that I like about LLM FX. And it gave here some stuff that it found exploring comments on my machine. So Firefox is using a lot of CPU,
Yeah.
GNOME, RAM. Anyway, so the point is that you can do anything. Like if you, for example, if you use the Java Robot API, probably it can control your machine as well. So it can move your mouse and do a lot of stuff with the Java Robot API. Finally, let's do something graphic because we are on JavaFX. So I'm concerned about what I'm reading here. So I'm just clean. So this reporting tab is just using the JavaFX charting library. So it's not anything that is all. It's just the JavaFX library. Just expose the library to the LLM. Create a report about the world population. So I have, let me just answer like this. I have only reporting. When I ask it to create a report about the world population, probably it will use the data that it knows at the time it was trained. So it says what he thinks about which could be a good report. Probably because it knows the tools, it knows that it has access to charts, bubble chart. So the tool, as I said, is just exposing JavaFX library to the LLM. So if you check the code, is a LangChain for J2, and you see that it gives you access to XY charts, bubble chart, and things like that, and just tells that the LLM that it is available here and how to use. So it's adding stuff to the UI. So here's the report.
Nice.
And it can go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so this is so. Of course, one way is to give it access to HTML and libraries, which you can do too. But this is pure JavaFX load, all running, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's all Java, all JavaFX. And as I said, we could add more tools. So it's up to you to explore the APIs and give anything you give access to the LLM and give a good prompt on the tool, it will work well. So this is the reporting. One thing that I find interesting that I didn't know about is that if you go ahead here and do web search with reporting, the top selling cars in Europe and build a report.
Yeah, then they get combined. That's the thing. Yeah.
Exactly, it starts to combine. So you can have some. It says that it's searching for the for it will search for the top selling cars.
Yeah. So by the way, we have a question from Oleg, who's already cloning. He's like, "What's LLM server? Pull the repo running in errors could not list models from the LLM server." So I guess he needs to set up the server somehow.
Yes. So good question. So by default, LLM FX will try to connect to Ollama.
Yeah. So if you have a llama running, then it should just work. Yeah.
So if you have Ollama running, like it will just work. If not, you have to set up this system properties or use the application.properties directly.
Yeah.
By default, it will point to Ollama, but you can point to any server. I will show you in a minute. Let me just finish this and I will show.
Yeah.
So here is the report. So it went to the it went for 2020 because it thinks it's this year, but it went to the internet, searched the top selling cars, and created this report. So about changing the about setup in the LLM server, it's just one system property. You can come here to the application.properties, or if you are running the jar, you have to set up this system property here, LLM URL.
And so
Just do this and it.
Yeah, Oleg is from Docker, so he's running the Docker model runner. I think they have an open API endpoint. So then, yeah. So Oleg just need to set the LLM URL to his endpoint, and then it should work. How about tokens and passwords and that kind of thing? Does that?
Yeah, so there's another one which is LLM.key. So
yeah,
LLM.key will work. I have one, so I have one as well. So I will not echo this because.
Oh, come
anyway,
on.
but if you so just export this. I think I can reset this later.
Yeah, that's fine.
So just do this. I will reset this later. So if you export LLM key, it will use to connect to the server.
Clear your screen, then it's fine. Yeah, so Oleg, let us know if setting that works on the. I haven't tried Docker LM server, but it was good to hear. It should work on any open API. I use it for Anthropic. I use it for OpenAI. I've done it with Gemini. I've done it with Ollama. I've done it with Open Podman. The whole shebang has worked so far. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, I have also running here. Let me see if it works. I have also running here the LM Studio server. I don't know if this is their URL, but I have Ollama and I have LM Studio server as well. It works. So this is another server now. No, I didn't export. Right. So anything that you run locally, I tried with Ramalama, LM Studio, and Ollama. And everything that is compatible with OpenAPI, for some reason, is still. Anyway, anything that is compatible with, if I open another bash, probably it works. With OpenAPI should work. Let's start again and explore another tool. Probably my LM Studio server is stopped. So let me go back to Ollama. just to clarify, let me show one thing. So what I'm saying is that I have Ollama running here. So these are my Ollama models. And these are the models that were retrieved by LLM FX. So I can run this model on Ollama, but this model has no tools, has no MCP support. And with LLM FX, it's much easier because once it's here, I can use some of my tools, some more sophisticated one like draw and things like that, or some simple one like write files, graphics, and run MCP servers.
Yep.
So yeah, so continue here.
And by the way, Oleg just said that it works for him in the Docker model runner, so that's cool.
Nice, really great. So if you try the tools, let us know your experiments, Oleg, with the tools, because it's very interesting to see. So let me go back to DeepSeek because to avoid exploding my machine again. And let's try the MCP server. So I have here this client that shows database, and I have one MCP server configured to be used with LLM FX. Anything's possible, but right now I only have the JDBC one that is from the Quarkus MCP servers, and I point to this file here. So let me open this database. And I have one table there that was created with the LLM itself. But let's try to fill this with some rows. So what I do is just select JDBC here. Please add some rows to the table. What's the table name again? Products. So what I did here is just I mapped the MCP server, and since I have JBang installed, it will start the server using command, so it's in process communication, and this MCP server will allow us to handle database. And what is good about this? This is JDBC, this is SQL, this is something that we all know, but it could be anything else. For example, I know that GitHub has a MCP server that you just have to set up your token and start the image, the Podman image, the container image with the MCP server, and you are able, for example, to do anything with GitHub.
Yeah. And this is one thing that is Oleg saying, like local models kind of struggle with MCP tools in my experience. You really need to precisely control what tools you give them, or too many definitions will get them confused easily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a problem that I face as well.
Yeah.
And luckily there is a issue on LangChain4j asking how to filter the MCP server's functions. Because when you add the MCP server, it will give like a big prompt for the LLM. So it says, hey, here are my tools. And then list like 20 tools. And this is very bad for local models. So there is a GitHub discussion about that.
Yeah.
And it say how to filter the tools.
Yeah.
And actually, I have some piece of code that I can show that I use this to filter the tools as well. Because really, it's
good.
Yeah, really, it's really something that is a problem. So
But
if you just put some random MCP server locally, you may have problem because of this.
But I also think it's a problem of all the MSP servers. Like they are assuming that, oh, I'm the only MSP server out here, so I'll just give you 50 methods and then be fine. And that, yeah, it's only the very big ones that can do that. So that's what they have to be very focused. So that, and this is what I like with the LLM FX. It's not polished right now. Like it's not gonna do it automatically for you, but it lets you play and activate all the tools, and then you'll see the LM be very confused. But then you can pick and choose what you want. And yeah, local models are, yeah, only a few of them can do well. So it's a balance to figure this out.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have this feature, this idea of selecting the MCP here and then select what tools you have, but I still didn't have time to finish that. The idea would you select the MCP and you see everything that the MCP will be able to do, and you can select what you want instead selecting the whole MCP.
Yeah.
The JDBC MCP, luckily, is small. It has like I think 6 functions.
It's deliberately very small. That's how I did it. Because you don't want to expose everything.
Exactly.
It's the same. Like I was surprised that the GitHub MSP server is like massive. It basically exposes all the REST endpoints, and that's just not the right way of doing it.
Exactly.
Focused task. Yeah. No.
And let me just try to see if it works. Insert. So I asked this to add some stuff in the database, and it tries to run an insert here, but I don't know how to see the browse table. And you can see that this was added by the LLM using the MCP server. So yeah, so that's it. So you get a MCP. I think there's a tool called MCP Analyzer, something like that, right? That you can see. But in the future, it would be great to have a way to select exactly what you want, exactly what you are executing from the MCP server, instead putting all the functions in the context. And it's a good feature for LLM FX. I will open initial working on that. I was starting to do something in configuration, so you could something like this.
Yeah.
Tools, and you add here, but I think in the UI is better because you can select and unselect. So yeah, so to finish, let's add some drawing and animation, and I think that will be it for today. So just to finish what we said about the graphical thing, so we can, for example.
Yeah, I didn't get around to do it. One thing I wanted to do was to have the chat actually show the actual tool call. I use that a lot for in debugging of but right now it's all in console. It would be nice to actually see that, but I know it's a bit hard to hook into in
You mean like in the UI, see all the tools that were called?
Here's a tool called, do you want to do it or not? And the result will be very nice to have access to. But yeah.
Interesting.
Because if you use like VS Code, they show that and it's like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. So what are you doing?
So that's just think about what it was doing. But this was basically LLM FX. Everyone is free to fork it, start their own project, or contribute to LLM FX. And that's basically, as Max said at the beginning, there is a lot of possibilities, and I also think that Java developers are not exploring it. Probably because it seems that the LLM is doing everything, but actually, I would say 90% of the work is actually done by tools, and
middleware.
We can do that today.
Yeah, that's I keep repeating to the people that Oh, that works. uh, um, and again, yeah, of course, this is more like a gimmick stuff, but it just shows the thing you can do. This API could be your enterprise application or something else. Anything you can explain and set up, you can let it automate. But yeah, but yeah, for me, it's just repeating to people like, LM is a known, understand issue now, or issue concern. It's a REST API, and where the active differentiation is applying it. And that could be in a desktop app like this, or a backend application doing something, or yeah, it's really not that magical once you try it. Yeah. So yeah, very cool. And do you have the? Oh, you showed that. Yeah, yeah. So that's very cool. Cool. And yeah, and the code, the what's it called? The source code is not super complicated. It's very few classes. Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
And so the source code is basically two parts. Just decrease here. Basically, the UI handling, so all the UI logic, like how do I control the flow of the UI, and the second part is the tools and the LLM model itself. So to create tool, you have to modify the code in 3 or 4 parts, but basically to know what the tool is doing, you go to the tools package and you can see everything that's written here. That's what will be executed.
Yeah.
And the part that talks to the LLM is also this. Actually, the most complicated part is the chat rendering because
Yeah.
it's we have to handle a few things that come from the LLM. But besides that, everything is easier. For example, I want to show the tools part. Just 1 second. There's one part that we do everything with the LLM server.
Yep.
Not here. Basically, the tools, everything that you receive from the LLM, you will have to put tools on the contents and things like that. And this part is all done in one class as well. And also the MCP tools is all filtered, so you can see that in the code. And you can fork it and do anything you want with to improve this. But basically, code is very easy to navigate. It's not something that the architecture is not something very deep in some purpose because I want to keep 3 or 4 classes with the core of the LLM FX to allow other people to see and bring contributions. Because sometimes we add factor and singleton and blah 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 blah. No one will be able to contribute with that. So 2 things: the UI is just FXML, and there's some classes to handle the UI logic, like when this button will be showed or enable or disable. And the other thing are the tools and the LLM itself. The tools are pure Java code, so Java code annotated. Thanks to LangChain4j, it's just this. The tool is you focus in the Java code here and give it a prompt. And the part of the LLM talking is also basically LangChain4j doing the talk, but what you can see here and improve is how it handles tools. So you can see how any tool that's selected by the user is added to the contest. And you can see also the tool execution. It's all here on this class. Just one class, and you see everything that's
Yeah,
happening.
and just remind me, I think you said in the beginning, is this is not using Quarkus LangChain4j, this is using the more programmatic access to LangChain4j, because then you have more explicit control over everything.
Exactly. So with Quark Link4j, let me just clear this. With Quark Link4j, we have much easier configuration access to tools and MCP. However, what I need here is to select and unselect anything I want. So I want to select this and make sure that only this is available. With Quarkus LangChain4j extension, everything is added to the LLM. I mean, we could do some top level configuration, but I need to go inside the LangChain4j to select the tools I want. So, for example, here, I I I have this object spec that contains the tool that the user selects. So I have to put any each of these tools in the context. And other thing is that MCP, I have to go into MCP, see the tools that it has. So I iterate on each tool to make a big list of tools, the ones that the user select, the MC and the MCP ones to put all together to send to the LLM. That's why I say that one thing that probably will be in the future of LLM FX, because I think it's good, is to select the tools of the MCP.
Yeah.
And that's only possible because we are using LangChain4j directly.
What I really want to do is have a LMF, have a way to run a small model that just gets the text and then take a guess on which tools to enable. Like, so you just, hey, here's the chat. Which are the tools we should use for this chat? And then put it in. But that way you don't overload the context automatically, and you don't have to automatically do it. But I don't know how small a model can do it. But yeah, it would be interesting to do. But that's what I like.
Yeah.
You basically you can just try out and do things in the language I'm used to, which is Java, instead of 6 layers of JavaScript. So yeah, it's very nice. Cool. We've used our William, which is very good. Any other last thing you want to show, or you covered everything?
I cover everything basically because I don't know how the LM will behave if I try more things. But that's all.
Yeah.
I would like to ask who is watching this to please go ahead, take a look at the code, and feel free to suggest anything, because we have a big field to explore. So yeah.
A lot of stuff. Another thing I wanted to have time was that's what Goose does. There's a CLI and a desktop that use the same backend, but they don't talk to each other, which is a bit annoying. I wish I could go, hey, here's the conversation that is in the desktop, and then go like, oh, open terminal, and then the terminal will just be sharing the same context or something like that. To kind of allow. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could play around with, which would be really cool. Awesome. But William, first of all, thanks for doing this, but also thanks for pushing the limits with Quarkus and Java FX. That is awesome to see. It's not the normal boring microservice, but actually something you can see and touch and play with, which is really nice. So thank you, William. And yeah, and to everyone out there, the GitHub URL is in the chat. But otherwise, search for GitHub of LLM FX. Then you should find it. Yeah, we should find a better name for it. But okay, William, enjoy, and see you on